Oh, this was a sad one to me.
I almost cried watching this episode, Kim, which is something that never
Oh,
happens while watching Succession because of what happened. The Connor storyline this episode really got to
yeah.
me.
Finally.
Found him.
This is certainly not the first time that a major deal has been going down at a family event, right? Obviously, Kendall giving Logan the bear hug on the day of Shiv's wedding. At the Roy kids' mom's wedding, there was the whole Gojo deal going down, and now Connor's about to get married, and all they're doing is talking about a deal. And what I love about this show and these scenes in particular is how, like, when you are at these levels of business doings, there is no room for personal milestones. Basically, there's no room for holidays. I remember talking with somebody who was like, at a company that shall remain nameless, but a coworker of mine that was saying how, like, yeah, the last 3 Thanksgivings I spent, on call, waiting near my phone and working, on my bed at my parents-in-law's house, and it's like, and you can imagine in the corporate world when you're at this high level and deals are going down at this level, at this rate, you cannot ever assume that a personal event will not be interrupted. It's really, really sad.
Willis stood up to do her speech, and she said, I can't do this.
The thing about Connor is, if it was a normal person in that situation, he'd be like, hey, guys, this is kind of uncool what you're doing. But I think Connor is like so used to it at this point that he doesn't even say anything. He just has a kind of like resigned look on his face for most of the episode.
He almost just seems happy that they showed up at all, even though they missed the entire rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
Sad.
So, what do you say? A little bit of karaoke?
Why was Connor getting married on the board meeting deal day? That's weird.
Yeah.
So
I don't
it's
know
weird
if that's Logan being Logan and just not caring about Connor and being like, sorry, this is the best day for it. We'll try to do both. But either way, it feels crappy for Connor that those two things are happening or were supposed to happen on the same day, which therefore meant that he would not have his dad with him on his big day.
Yeah.
Which I just realized Logan says that later.
I guess I wanted you there a bit at my party.
He's talking about his sale.
Yeah.
While Connor is sitting there and Connor's wedding day is supposed to be the next day.
I'm writing you now just to see if you're better.
I don't condone joking about Guantanamo, but it is pretty hilarious watching Roman's misery. What do you think? Do you think there's any significance to this song, Kim?
I hadn't heard this song before, so sorry to any diehard Leonard Cohen fans out there.
Yes.
But as I do anytime that a song or a book or a poem comes up in a TV show, I just went and listened to the whole thing and read it. And yeah, I was like, why this song? And there's a verse in it where the lyrics are, and what can I tell you, my brother, my killer? What can I possibly say? I guess that I miss you. I guess I forgive you. I'm glad you stood in my way, which feels very relevant to both all of the siblings' dynamics with each other and also Logan. And this sort of like, oh, am I trying to kill dad? Am I trying to fuck dad? Am I trying to kill my brother? Are you standing in my way for the benefit of me right now? Which I think Logan tries to claim he does for his children from time to time, where like he tries to say,
I've got done a good deal and you'll get enough to do whatever you want.
A lot of conflicting and really intense feelings described in that just like verse of a song that I felt were relevant to Connor and the other kids and what they might be going through emotionally.
I sent him a text on his birthday just saying happy birthday.
You texted him initially?
It comes out that Roman has been texting back and forth with Logan, which is a big kind of betrayal. Shiv reveals that they said that they wouldn't text with him until he apologized. The kids still largely come off as spoiled brats to me because, what did Logan do? He quote unquote betrayed them by like removing their voting power, but like it's his company, like he can do what he wants with it, in my opinion.
I read that a little differently in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just because I've spent too much time thinking about childhood trauma and how people relate to their parents. But like Shiv specifically using the phrase no contact.
We said no contact until he apologizes.
Okay, well, so then never?
Yeah.
Was interesting to me because that is that's kind of wormed its way into pop psychology.
Yes.
That I've been seeing online lately of an adult child of an abusive parent, whether emotionally abusive or physically abusive, which it seems like Logan was a mix of both, depending on which kid you were.
Yeah.
Deciding to go no contact as a way of setting a boundary of like, I'm no longer going to like allow you into my life to potentially continue to abuse me type of thing.
So, Dad's on his way.
What?
We have never seen Logan interact in any space that remotely looks like this aesthetically before. Like, it's always in a corporate environment. It's always in this, like, in his houses where he has these like massive wooden edifices everywhere, you know. But to see him in a kind of a karaoke bar, I was just like, I've never seen Logan in this environment before. And he has the closest thing to a heart-to-heart with his children that he can.
You're smart to ask about the money. You are. But Mattson won't go there.
A pretty interesting scene. You know, he actually apologizes. He tries to apologize, but like, to me, this is the most heartfelt apology he has issued on the show thus far. Like, I remember in season 1 at Austerlitz, he like tried to apologize and that was horrible. Like, this is at least slightly better, because the dude makes some good points, which is, hey, let the deal go through. You get a bunch of money. You can start your thing. I'm starting my thing. Like, it's a good fresh start for everyone. And he's actually right when he says that.
I do ATN. You do Pierce. Be a fresh start for all of us.
I don't buy that any of that was actually genuine from Logan. I agree with you that some of the things that he's saying rang true, and we as the audience have more information because of that Mattson call, where like when he says, I think Mattson's gonna walk, and Shiv gets really angry and she's like, no, you don't. Like, I understand that reaction, but Shiv doesn't know what we know and what Kendall and Roman know, which is that it is actually probably pretty likely. There are points in this conversation where Logan is maybe factually correct, but emotionally it rang completely hollow.
I'm sorry, an apology? We missed that.
Look, I don't do apologies.
He doesn't apologize. He does the thing where he tries to like say nice things.
Well, he does say I'm sorry. He does say I'm sorry.
An apology is not saying the words I'm sorry. Like, in order for someone to really receive an apology, they have to know that you understand what it is that you've done, that you're apologizing for. So I was like practically, you know, fist pumping at my TV when Roman's the one who goes like,
what are you actually sorry for, Dad?
And I was like, yeah, get him to say something.
One of the things that I think Jesse Armstrong said recently, the creator of the show, was that on an intellectual level, he thinks that Logan really does love his children. Like, Logan thinks that he is trying to do the best for them. He's doing it in an extremely toxic and often counterproductive way, but he does believe he loves his children. So, I don't know. I agree that if you are going to apologize, you need to identify the things you've done wrong. If you are going to apologize, it means more. If you haven't spent a lot of time trying to undermine the people you're apologizing for, you know, outside of this current situation, you know, it's like when in season 1, when I think Logan accidentally hits Kendall's kid, if I recall that correctly, or something, or he like yells at him or something.
I don't think that was an accident. He just
and
hit him.
And then Shiv says like, hey, this is not remotely one of the worst Thanksgivings we've ever had. This strikes me as not one of the worst chats that the Roys have ever had. It's probably maybe top third, is my guess.
Sure, but I think it's too little too late.
How was it for you?
Amazing. Just over too soon.
Kendall, throughout this whole episode, I swear this is like the most we've seen Jeremy Strong smile in a single episode. He knows that this isn't going to go well for anyone, which is probably why he's in his little secret burn it all down mode, where he's like happily now backing Stewie and Sandy. Roman seemed to be the one who like was hoping that this was an actual earnest conversation. Like, Shiv's just angry and wants more money, and she's operating out of this like divorce fear mode. And Kendall is not keeping his siblings' best interest in mind because he's withholding information from them and still being all weird. Connor is in full sad boy mode and like seems to have completely given up on ever getting like meaningful love from his family, which is so tragic.
And this is the part that really broke my heart. You know, he says like, I don't need love. It's like a superpower.
You're needy love sponges. And I'm a plant that grows on rocks and lives off insects that die inside of me.
Connor.
But
I also fully believe that like he's been on some nature walk out in his like desert, you know, thing, and like learned that from someone else, and has just like been waiting to express that as like an analogy for himself.
It's really, really sad. And at the same time, I understand why he's proud of it, because to have survived in this environment where even when you are at the lowest of the low, your family can't even really come together for you. They can't put business things aside for you, is incredibly sad. And if you allow yourself to experience that sadness, you will die, or you will die at least spiritually. And so the idea that he can continue living on and surviving, I understand why he takes pride in that. It's also just really sad that he needs to endure it.
The loss of humanity in people who are still human because they can't access something like love or compassion or kindness towards their fellow human is what's inherently interesting to me. It's not that people are either good or bad. It's that what happens to someone over time to the point that they can do something like close themselves off to love forever and still walk around the world like a person.
And if she comes back and doesn't love me, that's okay too, because I don't need it.
The fact that Connor is still going to go to a wedding tomorrow after that night that he just had with his family and like get married and put on a brave face and try to be like a presidential candidate, there's tragedy in that. There's tragedy in the loss of like the fullness of life that he has access to now.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.